Hey everyone, welcome to The Gauge. My name is Becca, and I'm here with Natalie, the owner of Carpe Diem Inspections from Vero Beach, Florida. Thanks so much for being here, Natalie. Really appreciate it. How's your day going
Absolutely.
so
Thank
far?
you. Oh, it's going great. Thank you so much for having me, Becca. It's a beautiful, sunny, hot day here in Vero Beach, Florida.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What is the temperature over there right now?
It's been around the high 80s, feels like mid
Ooh.
90s. We have not had rain in a long time.
Oh,
So we
wow.
are, yeah, suffering with a lot of drought areas and high bug contents. And yeah, it's not pretty right now, but go to the
Yeah,
beach and it's perfectly nice.
of course, of course. That's why you live in Florida, right?
Right? Yeah.
So I just want to get started and ask, how long have you been inspecting homes?
So I started near the end of 2020. I got my certification in May of 2020 and then moved to the area in August of 2020 and started working with another inspector in October, which is when I got licensed as well.
That's awesome. How did you find home inspecting? Like, was there a point in your life that you
So
were,
I really love this question because it's kind of one of my favorite stories. So in the beginning of 2020, my husband was very, very sick and he was in the car business. He was a car sales manager for Toyota. Excellent, excellent salesman, but that comes with a price. He worked 80-hour weeks. He was very sick.
oh,
So
wow.
we looked at 2020 to restart his health. We just didn't realize that the rest of the country was going to fall into such dismay with the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
During that time, I had started working back with a plumber as an office manager, just coming out of being a full time stay at home mom. And I wanted my husband to kind of get out of that business, and somehow home inspections kind of came across my purview and started looking into it for him. Wanted him to get something outside, something he can create his own schedule and still make really good money. And when I was working for said plumber, they was a jerk. Kind of treated me like every other contractor I've ever been treated in the office. They just feel that they could talk to women any way that they want.
Hmm.
And so one day when he told me to shut up on the phone, I texted him I quit. As I was driving back home, I looked over the river and thought, why can't I be a home inspector?
Yeah.
When I looked it up online and I saw only 14.8% were women in this industry, I was like, I have got to get involved with that. I've got
Yeah.
to help add to that number. And got the blessings from the family and took the course while during the pandemic and the stay at home, and I did it. And now here I am.
Was there anything about becoming a home inspector that intimidated you, or did you have a background around construction, like a father figure that was maybe in construction or a grandpa or something like that?
So yes, I do come from a family-owned construction business. My dad
Oh,
is a general contractor.
oh, okay. I was taking a wild
um,
guess.
right, yeah. So we moved to Vero Beach in 1986, and my parents started Stroh Construction, which was a small construction company. Basically, a lot of remodels. He got into the commercial side of it, doing build outs for malls and Vitamin Worlds, and he also did originate from working in the studios over in Los Angeles, which is where I'm originally from. And shout out for my dad because he built that amazing slide that you go down in the movie of The Goonies back in 1984. so,
Oh my gosh, that's so
so
awesome.
I've been on
Wow.
job sites most of my life. I've worked with him. I've also worked for quite a few different other specialties: a roofing contractor, a concrete specialist, a septic company. So the knowledge was kind of there already for me to go into the home inspection certification. There were still some specialties I hadn't quite touched on, but prior I was hoping to work for some of them to gain some of the knowledge.
Yeah, that's
But
smart.
again, um, what was really intimidating, of course, was more or less the time frame. In 2020, every business marketing suggestion for home inspections, go to those realtor offices face to face. And it's like, how am I supposed to do that? There's no one in
Yeah.
offices. So I called a good friend of mine who was a realtor in Vero, and I just wanted to get her opinion on it. And she's like, you would do well here. You know everybody here. And so that's when I convinced my family to move back to Vero Beach. And I did start working for a local septic company. They wanted a big commitment, and my dream was to do the home inspection. So that same realtor suggested another FABI member, and he and I met and we worked together for about a year and a half. And then but the biggest dream was carpe diem. I had to have that, and it has a lot of meaning to me. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how everything went. But the biggest intimidation, yeah, was really figuring out how to get to make the right step in the beginning, and those were really big steps to get to where I was able to start my company on its own, moving
Yeah.
out of city, working for another inspector, but I wouldn't take any of it back. I'm so happy.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like that is so helpful to have people around you that are kind of in the industry that you can reach out to and get advice from your friends and have that support there. That's super special to have.
Hmm.
Um, so a question, I know Florida has a lot of regulations and guidelines compared to a lot of other states just with the weather um, being so what's a good word for the weather in Florida? Extreme sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, what was your experience getting your home inspector's license in Florida? Was it challenging
So
or
to me, the biggest challenge is I went through ICA and got my certification that way because they did offer the Florida wind mitigation and 4 point ancillary classes as well.
oh nice.
They do now, after I've already taken their course, offer a Florida home inspection course, which I wish I was more a part of, because to me the biggest challenge was most of these courses really were the curriculum was a lot around a lot of the structures we don't have. We don't have oil furnaces. We don't have furnaces. We do air handlers, air condensing units. Our attic structures are very different. We don't typically have any basements. Sections of Florida have crawl spaces. So there was a lot of additional information to kind of get overwhelmed with when it's not something we see on a daily basis. So um, the strictness of really with Florida and our codes and our strictness really is not necessarily. I mean, it's the same when it comes to any kind of building code. It's more with other licensing, contractor licensing, and their requirements. I actually wish that home inspection licensing required some more additional um, assessments to make sure that we have inspectors hitting the ground truly knowing what they're doing.
Yeah, like a really well-rounded tool belt for all.
Right. Like
Yeah.
most licensed professions require an apprenticeship, an internship, so many years on the field before they can apply for their license. Like even though I have a background in general construction, I can't just go and get a license for that. I have
Yeah.
to have an internship for so many years or so many months. Currently, Florida doesn't require that for home inspectors, and I think
Oh,
at least a
wow.
6 month period would
Yeah.
definitely be recommended. So to become a home inspector in Florida, you have 120 hours of pre-licensing for home inspection, and general liability that covers at least 300,000. Um, E&O is not required. I think that's another thing that should be required for licensing, and then no type of apprenticeship. And that's being part of the board of the Florida Association of Building Inspectors. That's something that we've been trying to work for to
Yeah.
better our industry, at least here down in Florida, because I do know some other states do require that.
Yeah. So interesting. Um, Going back to your exam that you had to take, what was that experience like? And if you have any tips on how you prepared for that exam to succeed?
One of the things that I think I should have done was take the exam right after taking the certification course,
Yeah.
because I waited a little bit, which a lot of inspectors are do, or a lot of people will do. I have test anxiety. I have huge test anxiety.
Same.
So the idea of taking the test and failing it and then having to pay for the class again is very intimidating. So
Hmm.
I hesitated. I waited a little bit of time. So I will be honest, I did not pass my first test. But that did give me the gusto to go back, review those tests, review those exams that I had taken, and then have the confidence to just take it again. So yeah, as soon as you're finished with that certification, take the test wherever you can. You freshest knowledge, and it can be difficult too because you know all the different ways you're taking these courses, you could be taking it month at a time. I was able to cram it in. You know, kids went to bed early. I had my earbuds in and I was watching my course, and I was taking
Wow.
courses over hours throughout the night. You know, from 6 o'clock to midnight. So I was able to finish my courses within about 2 weeks. But I
Oh,
know
wow.
others, yeah, because I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have
Yeah.
any other, and it was the pandemic too, so
Yeah.
there wasn't really much else going on.
Yeah.
Um, so and then yes, once I had to review those, and then I took the class, like the test again. I passed it. So
That's awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
So you had mentioned that you did have a couple realtor friends. I know a lot of times, especially with the housing market right now, inspectors are having a hard time finding work. So that ties into the next question that I wanted to ask you. After you passed the exam, what was your next steps that you followed to start your business and actually get clientele?
So it's a little bit confusing because again, I started working with an inspector for
Mhm.
about a year and a half prior to truly being in the public eye.
Mhm.
That was helpful because I already kind of gotten in front of people. And then when
Yeah.
I started myself getting involved with the Chamber of Commerce, getting involved with the local Realtors Association, you know, getting my face and my name out there with anything that I could was what I think really helped make me professional, and finding ways to, and with part of that standing out more, as you could see, was a little bit more of the branding.
Love it.
So, and then you know, kind of making sure those colors and those our brands are being seen a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the biggest things for a home inspector is you got to try and figure out a way to stand out. There's a home inspector who stands out because he is a military vet and very proud, and you know, everything like that. Another one who's born and raised in the area. You know, people have their niches. My amazing niche is just the fact that I'm a woman. I am
Yeah.
the only woman owned and operated home inspection company in my county.
That's amazing.
So that completely separates me from everybody else. But then adding in some of this, you know, vibrant teal colors and having a little fun with it helps as well. There are some other realty companies that also have teal, turquoise, navy blue, stuff like that in their colors. I think that's a very Vero color. Um, so you know, making your name and your brand and your face a part of something that everybody sees. Because I love that I'm referred to the teal inspectress, Carpe Diem, Natalie Jenkins, and not just known as only Carpe Diem.
Yeah. I
Because I
love that
want
too.
all of that to be able to spread through, you know, other employees that I will be hiring here and there.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge marketing tool and aspect of businesses that not everyone thinks of to really harness your own individual authentic self
Mm-hmm.
and be proud of who you are, what your brand looks like, and really stick with that. I think consistency, I do social media for HomeGauge, and I think consistency is really key, and
Mm-hmm.
you do such a great job with your social media your website, everything is very branded to your colors and just authentic to who you are. And I think that adds it makes it more personable when people are finding you online. It's not generic posts that you're finding somewhere on the internet and posting. You're really putting your brand and your personality into what you share. And I love that. And you can see that.
The teal, one of like everything I own is teal. My sunglasses, my purses, and on a daily basis, one person's like, I've got to ask what's with the teal. Here's my business card. That's part of it.
Oh, I love that.
I am also a big Jags fan, Duval. Um, and I've always loved teal. And actually, my husband, when we met, he said his favorite color was teal, and Carpe Diem was
Oh,
his favorite motto. So he's a big part of Carpe Diem as well.
that's amazing. So what you're saying is home inspectors need to dye their hair or do something, pick a color, live their life, be
Hey,
that color.
you do whatever helps you stand out. You know, I love that there are other companies out there that wear red on Fridays for military.
Oh yeah,
I do have some military family in the background, but it's not as heartful as it is for them. So I love that they wear red on Friday. You know, others, everybody has their different looks, their different sayings. There's a local inspector, Bo. He's Uncle Bubba. He always does this videos of Uncle Bubba, and that makes him stand out. You know, I think
yeah,
it makes him stand out more now.
for sure.
So me, it's just I just show up in teal, and oh, that's Natalie.
Yeah, I love that. Just you're so authentic. And, even when I met you in person, you can just feel your authenticity. And that's such a great
Wow,
characteristic
thank
and
you.
confidence
That's
to have.
really
So
nice.
kudos
Thank
to
you
you,
very much
girl.
for that. Oh.
um, so going back to when you first started your business, was there any challenges that really you came face to face with that you just want to share with any other inspectors, just your experience of these challenges and how you overcame them? Or was it pretty smooth sailing once you got going? You just kept following through with your motivation. How was that experience starting your business and getting clientele and
I think, I mean, you want to talk about some authenticity. Anxiety.
yeah,
Anxiety was really it was a really tough challenge to try and get over. And I'm not over it. I've not at
yeah,
all been cured from my anxiety issues, but um really having to put the anxiety on hold, put the business and just, go out and go do the networking, go
yeah,
meet people, go stop in and be okay with hearing no at the door at the realty offices from
yeah,
the bulldogs at the front door, I like to call
yeah,
them. Just getting out there, stop thinking that you're already ready to fail,
yeah,
that everybody already has somebody in their pockets, because I'm going to tell you, I've probably upset realtors already, and they want, or I know that I haven't been available for certain
mhm,
realtors, and they go and they call other people, and you could be that person. You just need that one chance. You need
yeah,
that one chance to make that one impression and stop being so technical about everything.
yeah,
Get
yeah,
there, do it, be you. Go and stop worrying about getting that lead right there. It's not going to happen. But be prepared when it's going to, because it will. One day it will. I
yeah,
mean, I've been running my business as Carpe Diem Inspections going on my third year now. And there have been people that I've just, there's I don't remember which one it was, but there's 5 touches that you have to do with people for them to finally maybe even acknowledge you. And there was a particular woman that I wanted to work with because she was one of the only female-owned brokerages in our area.
mhm,
And she was the first stop I stopped at, and I dropped off my cards. And then I ran into her again and I tried to chat with her. And then I gave an opportunity, stopped into her office, and I gave others. She sat across from me for my 4th touch and happened to mention an issue she was having with a home inspection about a wind mitigation because they couldn't verify the doors. And I said, I would be happy to come by there and help you verify that. No charge. I like to help clients and whatever. I didn't end up getting that call. I got the next call to do a 3,500 square foot inspection with
Wow.
all the ancillaries, which is a big house in our area.
Yeah.
And then we started working together, and that took a year and a half of a process.
Wow. That's so
But
great to hear.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it totally, you just, consistency, you have to at least try to do at least 5 touches, and please don't do them all in one week.
Yeah. Because you don't want to overbear a person
Right.
for
Because
sure.
everybody you're going to talk to has an inspector. They do.
Yeah.
Just try to be someone on their list.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable and expressing that, you did suffer from anxiety getting started. Because I think there's a lot of other people out there that probably can relate to you, especially face to face meeting and trying to, you're essentially trying to sell yourself without pushing and selling yourself where you're annoying someone. There's that thin
Right.
line of making someone like you and trust you by just being yourself. And I think that taps back into being authentic, like we had discussed.
Hmm.
Um, so that's amazing, and I'm glad you shared that because I think a lot of times, as someone who markets to inspectors myself, trying to help inspectors get more business because HomeGauge wants our inspectors to succeed. One of the main things is to go out and meet people. And I think even if you don't necessarily get business from meeting someone the first time, like your situation down the road, after attempting multiple interactions and touching base with a couple realtors, there might be a moment in time, well, if you're on someone's list, that they reach out to you and maybe have a better experience with you, and then just naturally you start becoming their home inspector. So
Right.
in the mentioning the time frame of over a year and a half, I think that's really important to take note on, that it's not something that happens overnight. So just
Yeah,
remaining
I've had a
consistent.
couple of realtors that I've been working with on the regular now that took me almost a full year to
Wow.
finally start working with. So,
Yeah.
and not fixating on one realty office. You know,
Yeah.
Keller Williams, Remax, they're great. They're all great offices because they're big. You know, they're worldwide. Go look for at the boutiques too. Some of the
Yeah.
small ones. You
And
don't
I,
always have to be the vendor on everything. You can just be someone. Just
for
you have to
sure.
impress one person in that office.
And I think word of mouth really, like, if you work with a smaller boutique and they share your name with someone else that maybe works for a larger place, the word of
Mm-hmm.
mouth helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And in my
that's
area, we have a lot of realtors. I mean, I think we have at least 2,100 realtors
wow.
in our county alone. I would say there's probably 30 home inspectors in my area, maybe.
Wow.
So there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of realtors out there.
Yeah.
Um, and they're not all involved with the association. They're not all involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Some of them are just doing their own thing in their own offices. So yeah, I mean, you just can't give up.
Yeah.
It's not gonna. I mean, we're not in 20. I was lucky in 2021, 22. I mean, it was raring to go. I mean, it was double inspections, 5 days a week. It takes time to build up the rapport and to
Yeah.
build up what you're looking for.
For
But
sure.
just being out there and getting involved with even community things, you have to get recognized.
Yeah. Dan, our web developer here, he just created a video, and that was one of his recommendations on branding and marketing, is to
Hmm.
get involved in your community, sponsor baseball leagues, just get your
Hmm.
name out there and be an active person in your community. And I think that really helps as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I sponsor my daughter's swim meets when we have our local swim meets. I mean, it's twofold. I'm also helping
yeah.
her organization and everything. I do sponsor my kids' school. I'm one of the platinum sponsors there. I will be hopefully sponsoring my son's little league going the next couple of years, and I can't wait until they're in high school to start seeing my banners out there too.
That's incredible. You're so awesome, Natalie.
Thank you.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, I think that definitely community involvement. That's a huge
Yeah.
thing. And our where I live, we're a very community focused area.
Yeah.
We look to our community for help for a lot,
Yeah.
and for guidance. And even there's a Vero Beach neighborhood on Facebook that's been created, and it's a full blown business, but it's such a great organization for communities to for our community to help each other. And
Yeah.
I also sponsor that too.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that you sponsor so many things that you're passionate about. That it just authenticity that just keeps coming
Well,
up.
and you know
It's
what?
authentic to
That was
you.
something that a business coach told me once is
Oh,
don't just throw
nice.
your money out there for anything. And that's something that I would warn any inspector. Don't, and it's not sponsor, it's advertisement, but don't even advertise or sponsor for anything that's not true to your heart.
Yeah.
Because you got to feel good that that money's going for somewhere, even if you're not going to get a return. I mean, I've sponsored something the last couple of years. I've not gotten a single return for it. And I am perfectly happy with that because it goes to child domestic abuse. And I'd
Yeah.
rather my money go towards that.
Yeah. Something that you feel true to your heart. And
Right, but don't advertise with golf club agencies. It's not worth it.
low
I learned
key,
that the
don't do
hard way my
this.
first year. That was like $1,000 right down the drain.
Oh boy. Oh man, well thanks for sharing that. I know that you had said that you did a lot of face to face, but was there anything else when you look back at when you 3 years ago when you first started actually getting clientele and starting your business that really helped you kick off getting a client base and getting people to go to your website, schedule inspections, you were starting to see a fuller schedule. Was it a lot of the face-to-face meeting with realtors? Was it social media, introduction emails? Um, what would you think was like your big push that flipped the needle over to start getting people that were hiring you?
You know,
Or a combination of all of
I don't
them?
know. I can tell you things. There was an inspector that retired. There's been a couple of inspectors that have retired in this area,
Mhm.
and they recommended me. And so their realtors have started using me, and that was definitely a big push near the end of the year, which was really great. And I'm still working with those realtors, and I very much enjoy those relationships that I've built with them. I really think being a part of the Realtors Association has helped because on a monthly basis, I literally stand up and announce who I am in front of at least 50 realtors in my area.
Wow.
So that always gives the presence. That always gives
Yeah.
the face.
Oh,
And
I would
again,
say
I've been ever, molding here. So now
how
it's
could
like, what's
anybody
she
forget
coming
you with
next
your
month?
teal hair? I love it.
And even this month, I'm sponsoring the Realtors General Membership meeting, so I get to physically stand in front of everyone and mention who I am and what I offer. So I think being a part of the Realtors Association definitely helped
Yeah.
me get out there. And doing that, I did a full year of attending just about every single Chamber of Commerce event I could, and I think again that really helped with getting my name out to non-realtors who
Yeah.
could um, who could get me out there. I was in a BNI group this last year. I did just decide not to renew with them because I have other personal things going on that I
Mhm.
need to do a little balancing with when it comes to business. And BNI is also an excellent source of networking
Mhm.
if you can find a local chapter that doesn't have a home inspector in it, because those are usually one of the first filled slots. But
Yeah.
going as a guest, it still introduces you to different people, and these are usually people that are very involved in the community as well. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and I would think consistently showing up to those meetings that you don't necessarily have to go to speaks for your professionalism and your seriousness of your business and who you are. That
yeah,
you're taking time out of your day to meet with these other realtors and people in the home inspection industry or just in the home market to get your name out there and just be a present voice in that community is important.
absolutely, yeah.
Um, so just a little background story. I met she is a FABI member, and I met her at the FABI conference that Susie and I went to last year. And you're just such a friendly personality. I knew that you were the first person that I wanted to have on the gauge. So I'm so happy that this was able to work.
Thank
And I
you.
know that you speak so highly of FABI. How long have you been? You're on the board actually of FABI, aren't you?
I
Yes.
am. I am. I
How long
joined
have you
FABI.
been?
Yeah, so I joined FABI in 2021 when I attended my first conference that September. Everything about it just blew me away. I had done online certification. I had done some other online training videos and CEs with InterNACHI. I am
Mhm.
a InterNACHI member as well.
Okay.
And having that interface
Yeah.
of the class, and that last, there was a gentleman that spoke about business growth and his multi-inspection, multi-million dollar company. And I mean, that's when I looked at my business partner at the time and I said, we got to get there.
Yeah.
um, and then of course that was somewhere I wanted to get. So
Yeah.
so I've been a member since with FABI since 2021. I was elected the director on the board in 2023, so I'm serving the 23-24 years. So I do I believe elections will be coming back up again this next fall. I'm not sure if I'm able to discuss any type of plans like that. But I'm very much enjoying being on the board, and whether I'm on the board next year, the following years, or whatever, I definitely am going to be a part of this organization. I'm on the education and the membership committee as well, as being a director, and which I plan to stay on for the remainder of my career. And the things that we're trying to do, and trying to make this industry, I mean, being a part of FABI is how you can be an incredible inspector, because it's not just about joining, and it's not just about the in-person conferences or classes that are offered. It's about being part of the FABI family.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a part of this family, I couldn't reach out to so many other local inspectors on a fairly daily basis
Yeah.
and just get advice with, or get some, extra knowledge or friendship, really. I mean,
For sure.
Megan Keith and we're becoming good friends.
Oh, I
And
love
she's only a
Megan.
couple cities away. We're
Oh, that's
constantly giving each
great.
other leads. We're hoping to do some walkthroughs with each other to just, draw off of each other. And we could be considered competition. I
Yeah.
don't consider her competition. I consider her a friend. And when
Yeah.
she's in my area, which she was the other day, and I was in jury duty, I gave her a shout out. Hey, glad you're in my hood,
Yeah. I think
Because
that's
that's,
super
to me, when
important.
you're with these FABI people, we're not competition. We're all
Yeah.
family. We're friends. We're learning off of each other.
Yeah.
Oh, here she comes. And the kitty
Oh,
joined us.
oh,
So this is
hello.
Jinx.
Jinx, hello. I've seen you on Instagram working on
Yes,
your HomeGauge reports.
she's a big HomeGauge fan. Absolutely. She loves to watch me while I do my HomeGauge reports,
She's
right?
like, oh, I hear you're talking to HomeGauge. I need to make my presence known.
Right? She did.
um Tapping back into, you and Megan's relationship growing, even though you are considered competitors in a way, being in the same area. I think that is something that's huge, that inspectors sometimes have this barrier up, that they're competing against each other, when really it's awesome that there are inspectors, and if you a lot of inspectors in the area, I should say, and if you open up to receiving knowledge and forming relationships, it could be more helpful than hurtful to your business,
Absolutely.
and just
when
changing that
when I'm
perspective.
not able to perform an inspection, like I came into a conundrum having to serve jury duty. I had an inspection scheduled, and I mean, I made it work, but I had to look at who else could I have fill my shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm not just gonna, throw any names out there of just
Yeah, it
any
has to be
local
someone that
inspectors.
you trust. Yeah.
And the first people that came to mind happened to be FABI members.
Yeah. And I really can testify, the community that you guys have built is seriously like no other. I've been to many conferences before, and the FABI conference was really, everyone truly is family, and you can feel that. There's no competitiveness. You guys have a good time. There's tons of laughing, support. It's really a great association. So if you are in the Florida area, definitely recommend checking out FABI. You heard it first from Natalie. I'm not a home inspector. I just go to the conferences, but I can testify that the people are amazing, and definitely the funnest conferences I've been to.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, yeah, our one in February, that was our big 40. And
Yeah.
so FABI has been an organization for 40 years, as old as I am. And so we did a big blowout for that one, but we had such a great turnout for that. We're hoping to really, really grow and build on that a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, it's not just about the education, it's also about the camaraderie, the family atmosphere, and knowing that we're all going to need to lean on somebody one day. As
Exactly.
they say, every home inspector is going to be sued one day. We need to
Yeah.
have a community of people that we can refer on and be able to say, hey, I feel like there's something here, but I'm just not seeing it. Can you advise? And
Yeah.
I have a great mentor that actually texted me a while ago and was like, you haven't asked any questions lately. Are you okay? And I'm like, no, you've done a
Aw.
good job training me.
Oh, but that's so amazing that you have a mentor reaching out to you to just check in. That is FABI. I
And
feel like that is.
that's something that FABI, we're reopening a mentorship program. So we're hoping to let all of our members know that we have this and we have people in the area to help them, do ride-alongs and other things. So because again, FABI is about knowledge and experience, and we need our inspectors out there reflecting that too. And
Yeah.
if someone's just grabbing their home inspection license with no background, hey, great for you, good luck, but please make sure you have the right knowledge, the right experience, and do your clients right, because this can fall down on anybody at any time if
Yeah.
it's misinspected. The whole point of an inspection is not just financially for
Yeah.
the client to know whether they can afford this house, is if they can live in this house safely.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a huge responsibility that home inspectors have, because someone is paying you for reassurance, if you will, on what they're investing in. And so it's a huge weight on an inspector's shoulder to take
Absolutely.
responsibility for the job that you're getting paid to do. It's not something like, an easy ringing up groceries at a grocery
Right.
store. It's, a huge investment for people. And a dream come true for people, in a way. Some people that don't have a huge income, that they save many, many years to finally buy a house. And if they don't have the education of what they're buying, that's detrimental to everything
Hmm.
that they've worked for. So,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
there's been some really scary home inspection stories where, clients had a house inspected and major issues weren't detected. And it's, as a, I like to say, a skilled, experienced and home inspector, I don't get how you can miss something
yeah,
so drastic. But then I hear of inspectors that are in and out of a house in 45 minutes for a full inspection. It takes me bare minimum 2 hours. And
yeah,
usually the outside of the house is the first hour.
yeah, yeah. Dang. Wow. Well, maybe they'll hear this and say, maybe I need to slow down a little bit. So I know that we've touched on so many things of just being successful with your business, like being consistent with your brand, being authentic to who you are and taking pride in that, getting your name out there by being active in your community, joining associations. I feel like you're doing it all, which is amazing. Are there any skills that you think home inspectors really need to be successful? If you just pick out a few, you had mentioned taking your time, um taking your time going
Oh,
through a house.
okay. So trying to be consistent with your, let's say, your mapping, your process, your steps that you kind of follow. So
like at the outside, I always, as soon as I get out of my truck, take a picture of the house. That way,
Yeah.
it's there. And you've
Yeah.
started off that one.
Yeah.
But in between, some people take pictures of their inside of their wrist. I just take a picture of the front of the house. I know that that's my start of the inspection.
Yeah.
And then start with whatever your process is. A lot of the time, I like to try and get the wind mitt pictures out of the way. So I'll walk around the house and take all of my wind mitigation pictures. Then I'll take all of my 4-point pictures. Those are also pictures that will go into my report. Then I'll do the exterior. So I start at one wall and I just go all the way around until I come back to my finish. And it's kind of the same thing when I start on the interior. I always start in the kitchen when I get on the inside. I do everything in the kitchen that I need to do. And then I pick a wall and I just follow that wall all the way around until I end up back at the kitchen again. So that
Okay.
way I'm still, I'm looking at that wall, that window, that outlet, that wall, that window, and you're still looking at the entire space, but you're covering each part of it and you're not just bouncing from room to room, because that's the best way to miss something. And I have ADHD. I'm sure most of us do, but consistency and really staying on a plan is very vital for me, because that is how I can and will miss things. Interruptions. You're always going to have the realtors or the buyers there. Not always, but a lot of the time. And I love how the realtors are the one that say, I didn't have the buyers come. I wanted them to stay out of your way. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're in my way.
Yeah.
They're always going to ask you questions that's going to interrupt your process. You have to remember that you're in control and say, I haven't gotten to that room yet. If you wouldn't mind, let's wait until I get there, and then you can point that out for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So trying to just kind of stay in your process and not letting other people disrupt it. Again, you work for the client, you work for the buyer, not the realtor.
Yes.
Sometimes the realtor. Always depends on who's paying and who's signing the contract. But that's the biggest important part, is that you are there for your client's best interest, not your realtor.
That's key.
Some realtors may forget that.
Yeah, that's such a great tip, because I feel like I made a post not too long ago of how you can prepare for your home inspection. And I mean, maybe this was pointing more towards the home buyer, or the seller per se, or home buyer, whoever's present at the inspection. But the last tip that I had on there was let your inspector work, because I feel like there's so many questions and things that people want to point out, but with that comes the distractions of you possibly missing something. And after all, they are paying you to point out things and find these defects that they need to know about.
Right.
So I'm glad that you touched on that. That is a huge, huge factor. I just have a couple more questions for you. One question, if you feel comfortable asking, because I feel that as people start building up their inspection company, there's so many different ranges of price for home inspections. So was there anything that you did that helped you determine your pricing structure, or anything that you could recommend home inspectors to do if they're trying to figure out where they should have their price points? Because I've heard people are like, oh, they should be, really high because you're very skilled and you have the education. And some people want to make it more middle of the road. Some people are lower end. How do you factor in there, and where did you come up with those numbers?
So I think it's always going to be your area. You need to just focus on the area that you're planning on serving. Looking around, and this isn't recommended, but some inspectors do put their pricing on their websites. You don't really want to do that, because then you're kind of fixed on that. And if you want to be fixed on those prices, that's up to you. But that's usually a lot of the inspectors that are coming out now that are lowballing it, because they're wanting to get the job, and they don't have all of the certifications like others do. So when I first started out, I kind of tried to do a little research on some of the other local inspectors to see if they happen to have their pricing on there. I came up with a general idea of what I considered would be doable, and I actually sent it to the president of FABI at the time, Jean Ann Baker, to see
Love
what her
her.
thoughts are, because she's
Yes.
close to my area as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted her opinion on it, and she said, yeah, I was right about where she is or where she
Yeah.
started. And so things have changed. As I've gotten further certifications and additional services that I offer, my prices have changed around a little bit more. And I come in when I do speak with realtors at sales meetings, I let them know I'm not the cheapest inspector right now, but I am the most qualified and most detailed and thorough inspector. So
Yeah.
that's where my
Yeah.
prices come in. And the suggestion always in any type of business coaching is that when you get too busy, that's when you start raising your prices.
Yeah.
Um, I I feel like that's such a conundrum,
Mm-hmm.
because even now I'm already being referred to as a high price inspector. I'm not far off of other inspectors in my area that I feel are just as experienced, as qualified as I am.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of increasing my prices doesn't quite make sense at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's to each his own.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you embody so many great characteristics and traits of a quality home inspector. Like if I was looking for an inspector just after meeting you, I feel like your confidence, and you definitely have a vast tool belt. You're involved. Another reason why being a member of an association could help if you have questions with your business and starting up. It's a great way to tap into that knowledge of other people that maybe have been in the industry for a really long time and have those skill sets that you are trying to build yourself. So that's great. And then I have,
Yeah, I mean, we are always looking for more members. If anybody's interested in joining, you can just check out FABI.org.
yeah, I'll be sure to put the link to Fabi's website, because they are amazing, and you heard it first from Natalie how
Oh,
great.
and we've loved having HomeGauge. You guys, we were all very excited to see you there on
Uh,
for our conference this last February. We look forward to working with you guys continuously. You and Susie, you guys made my day. I love you
uh,
girls.
yeah, we had so much fun. Susie, I feel like, is a conference champ. She knows everybody. Like, oh, this is that person, that's person, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So
Right.
she has really great energy to bring to those conferences. So shout
Yeah,
out
you
to
guys. I
Susie.
mean, we've definitely loved working with you. You've always, brought that wonderful orange color to some of our blue.
And then I just have one more question for you, Natalie.
Okay.
I'm going to ask every inspector that I have on the show this question just to hear different perspectives. But what's the one piece of advice you wish that you had received when you were starting out in the home inspection industry?
Working with another inspector before I started my company.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I will tell you, on my first day of inspections, which I was aware of this, but I did hit my head on a nail in the attic, went straight to the bone. That wasn't the big thing. So be careful when you're in those attics. I know everybody
Yeah.
says.
Watch out for nails.
But I kept saying throughout the whole inspection, well, I don't remember this on our training certificate. I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
learning this in our. So walking with other inspectors, learning techniques from other inspectors, building onto your own inspection techniques. But working with someone else, absolutely. It wasn't about getting to know the business working with this other inspector. It was learning to be a good inspector, learning to look for the things that they didn't teach us to look for.
Yeah.
For me, I love teaching about it now too.
Mm-hmm.
So getting as much knowledge as possible. Don't just stop after taking the certification and getting your state license. Continue more than 14 continuing credit hours. That's what Florida requires, is 14 every 2 years, and the wind mitigation certification. Do more than that. I have 155 continuing education hours that right now, and I only needed 14.
Wow. Wow. I
Just
think
keep
that,
learning. Don't stop learning. That's the biggest thing. You can always relearn the same thing, because you can get complacent in this job. You're seeing
yeah.
somewhat of the same things over and over and over. And when you start doing that, that's when you need to get back on and figure out how to start, getting the education you can. whether
Yeah.
that's online, whether that's in person, and contact me. I can give you plenty of opportunities.
Yeah. And I really do think your consistency with getting the continued education and building your tool belt helps speak to your confidence, because talking to you, I really feel that you're educated. Even though you've only had your own inspection company for 3 years, it doesn't seem like that. And I
Yeah,
think that pushing yourself to grow and keep expanding your knowledge in the area has helped you not only with your business, but with your confidence speaking about your business. So that's huge.
absolutely. I mean, my mom can attest to this. I was never this confident of a person, but I love this job. I love everything about this career. The thought of being injured and not being able to do this job terrifies me, which is, I'm trying to think of ways to still be in it, but not have to physically do it. Um, I really do. And it just feels like this industry, even going to other conferences, not just FABI, when you're interacting with other people in this industry, we all just want to help each other. We're this weird family, but I feel like others, they're all out to get each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Not Fabi though.
No, no, not at all.
Fabi's a shining stars.
We try. We really do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Natalie. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I know everyone's busy nowadays, but I hope that this podcast can share some light for other inspectors and they feel inspired by you and your personality and your confidence. It's been so nice to have you. And
Becca, you're so sweet. I really enjoyed talking with you. I was ecstatic to have this opportunity to talk with HomeGauge. I love HomeGauge. I love where it's going and how it's been morphing, and it's a wonderful software program.
awesome. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I love working for HomeGauge. It's a great company. So,
Maybe
but
that's one of the things I'll have to do if I can't get on the roof anymore.
come work for HomeGauge. We'll take you. Awesome. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your day and happy almost Friday.
Thank you. You too. I think Jinx wants to say one final goodbye.
Come on, Jinx. Oh,
Bye-bye.
hello. Bye, Jinx. Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate you. Have a
No
great
problem.
day.
You too.